Today we're cracking open one of the most talked about and controversial books out there, Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. You can think of it as a playbook for the art of indirection, pulling from literally thousands of years of history to figure out what makes power, well, powerful.
And that brings us to a pretty provocative question. See, Greene's whole argument is that the game of power isn't optional. It's happening all around us, all the time. Trying to sit on the sidelines, he says, just means you'll get pushed around. So the real question isn't if you're going to play, it's how.
So in this explainer, we're going to break down some of Greene's most fascinating laws. We've grouped them into three big themes. First, mastering your own image. Then, mastering how other people see the world. And finally, mastering how you actually get things done. Let's kick things off with the absolute foundation of all power, your image.
Right. Our first pillar is all about taking control of the way the world sees you. And according to Greene, this has less to do with who you really are and everything to do with who you appear to be. This takes us straight to Law 25, recreate yourself. The big idea here is that you shouldn't just accept the identity that society or your family or your friends hand you. No, you have to be the one who actively shapes it, who becomes the author of your own story. The key word here is drama. Think about someone like Julius Caesar. He wasn't just a general. The man was a genius of political theater. He staged everything, his speeches, his triumphs, to build this epic, larger-than-life persona. It made people feel like he was destined for greatness, and they just had to follow him. The goal is to craft an identity that grabs people's attention and makes you totally unforgettable. Okay, but building that perfect image also means you have to protect it. And that brings us to Law 26, keep your hands clean. This is a strategy for dealing with all the messy stuff, the mistakes, and the dirty work of power, so you always come out looking like a model of efficiency and class.
This quote nails the strategy perfectly. You need a scapegoat. When things go sideways, it can't be your fault. You use others as what Greene calls cat's paws, basically people who do your dirty work for you, so you can deflect all the blame and keep your own reputation squeaky clean.
And the last piece of mastering your image is Law 30. Make your accomplishments seem effortless. You know how a swan looks so graceful gliding on the water, but underneath it's paddling like crazy? That's the idea. Your genius should look natural, like you were just born with it. You have to hide all the practice, the hard work, and the clever tricks.
There's this incredible story in the book about a painter named Tanyu. He shows up and just starts making this chaotic mess on a screen, and his patron is getting furious. But then, with just a few last-minute brushstrokes, he transforms the mess into this stunning masterpiece. By hiding his technique, he made his talent seem like pure magic. So the lesson is huge. Never let people see you sweat. It makes your achievements look way more impressive, and it stops anyone from figuring out your methods.
Okay, so you've carefully crafted your image. The next level of power, according to Greene, is to start shaping how other people see reality itself. This is where you go from just creating yourself to creating the world around you.
And Law 27 is, well, it's one of the most audacious laws in the entire book. Play on people's need to believe. It's all about tapping into that deep, fundamental human desire for something to have faith in. Greene actually lays out a 5-step blueprint for building a cult-like following. You offer people a big cause, you talk in these vague but super inspiring promises, and you always choose passion over cold, hard logic. Then you give them rituals and ask for sacrifices to make the group feel real and important. In a world where traditional faith is sometimes lacking, Greene says this creates a huge vacuum of belief and a massive opportunity for power.
This flows right into Law 32. If our need to believe is the engine, then fantasy is the fuel. Let's face it, the truth is often complicated and kind of a downer, and most people would much rather avoid it.
And that right there is a huge key to influence. People don't want the harsh reality. They crave a story they can lose themselves in. If you promise some kind of amazing transformation or a magical solution, it's always going to be more appealing than a slow, practical plan. The master of power gets this. They know that appealing to what people wish was true is the fastest way to win them over.
All right, on to our final section. You've built your image, you've shaped perceptions, but none of that matters if you can't act decisively. This is all about mastering the art of execution.
This brings us to Law 28. Enter action with boldness. When it's time to make your move, Greene's advice is totally clear. Being timid is dangerous.
Your best weapon is audacity.
Think about it. When you hesitate, it just screams weakness, and it gives other people a chance to jump in and mess with your plans. But a bold move, even if it's not perfect, it commands respect. People are drawn to audacity. The lion is feared more than the sheep, right? Not because it's flawless, but because it never, ever hesitates.
But here's the catch. Boldness without a plan is just recklessness, and that's why you have to pair it with Law 29. It's not enough to have a strong start. You need to have a crystal clear picture of how it all ends.
The key here is foresight. Most people get lost in the heat of the moment, but the true strategist has already thought 5-10 moves ahead. When you plan all the way to the end, you don't get surprised by things. You guide them, making sure that you, and not your rivals, are the one who gets the credit in the end.
So, after going through all these laws on image, perception, and action, what are we supposed to make of it? Is this book a practical guide to getting ahead, or is it something a lot darker?
We've seen how these 3 pillars create this incredibly effective and kind of chilling framework for power. First, you build an image for yourself that no one can touch. Then, you literally shape the beliefs and fantasies of the people around you. And finally, when the time is right, you act with calculated, overwhelming force. And that really leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? Is this book a necessary toolkit for surviving in a tough world? Or is it a warning about our own most cynical, manipulative instincts? The answer, I think, probably has less to do with the laws themselves and a lot more to do with the person who's using them and why.